So I spent an entire day following 100 NPCs around in GTA 5. So why follow NPCs around? Listen, I know what a complete, probably waste of time this was. Well, I like game design. I like to see how games work, even what many might consider to be boring things. It's the boring things that make these worlds work the way they do. If we didn't have the boring things, it wouldn't be relatable to our world. The NPCs make the world of GTA 5 GTA 5, not the other way around. The plan with this was to not just follow the same kind of NPCs around, it was kind of to categorize them a little bit. And every single NPC has to be, you know, somewhat different from the previous lot I've already done. I'm obviously not going to show you every single NPC that I followed, or else this video would be about, I don't know, 3.5 hours long of a man following things. Each NPC will have a number, not a name, which is just the number that I used to categorize them as I went along doing all this. I've also grouped a bunch of them into different categories because I feel like a lot of the ones that I followed all kind of fell in the same category, or they kind of were related in some sort of way, so they're all in their own little category, and we'll get to that in a second. And of course, everything is timestamped below, so you can jump to whatever number or whatever category you want to during the video. Anyways, that's everything. Let's go. Starting with the very first NPC that I followed, and I know I said I wasn't going to give them names, but I spent so long doing this that I kind of developed not a relationship with these NPCs, but some sort of like connection between them, and I just remember them being a certain way, and therefore I gave them a name because of the certain way that they acted or who they were or what they looked like. So entry number 1 is High Heel Lady. High Heel Lady was your most standard kind of pedestrian or NPC in GTA. She would walk around, take a photo, kind of walk around again. But the thing that kind of stood out from her from all the other kind of NPCs, they all have different traits that do make them kind of different from one another, like little tiny things. For example, her high heels. Now you might think, well, that doesn't make a lot of a difference. Kind of the main thing you would probably guess or hear in this case is that you can hear her high heels as she walks. That's amazing. Oh my god, 10 out of 10 game. What a game of the year. But it was more about the realism of her walking motion with her being in high heels. Now, these NPCs, I try to not go near them at all. I try just to kind of follow them and not interfere them in any way because I want to see A, where they're going, and B, how they kind of go about their day. So everything is kind of going fine, and she's going about her day. She's thinking about what she's having for lunch. She's taking photos. She's walking around in city center, and then all of a sudden, Michael here gets hit by a car.
Come on!
Then when this happens, things start to change. High Heel Lady is now thinking about that club sandwich and that coffee even more so. But as you can see in the video, she's still in her high heels. So she doesn't run at all. She just does this really fast-paced walk all the time. Other NPCs, as we get later into the video, go into this kind of mode that I like to call the freak out mode, where if something happens around them or if something happens to them, they'll go into this alerted phase or freak out mode, and they'll start running away from whatever is happening. What is different from her, from other NPCs that you'll see, is that she doesn't really run. She just has to fast walk because she is in high heels. What they also tend to do is if you've done something or something's happened to you, okay, in this case, get hit by a car, she tends to avoid you. She tends to act like she doesn't want to have anything to do with you, even if you get hit by a car, which fine, okay, I guess I'll just get myself to the hospital then. NPC number 2, which was literally the one I was done straight after High Heel Lady, was Agent 47 in a sweater. Or a sweater around his head. Or just bald guy with sweater around him. You can already tell with Bald Man 47 here that he's got more of a swagger to his kind of walk, his arms are kind of being raised. He's confident. He's ready to go. He's ready to attack the day. He's ready to do anything. He's ready to put a daily photo up on Instagram and put hashtag just being me. Confident, swayy arms. He's ready to do business. The business of being bold and in a swear. I don't know what he does. Maybe he's a bank manager, but I didn't stop to ask him that. Anyway, he's actually the first NPC to do something. After a couple of minutes of walking, he eventually finds a bench and he sits on the bench, and hallelujah, something has happened. I know it's only the second NPC. Finding NPCs to do something during this experiment, as you'll see, was few and far between. So Agent 47 and Sweater ends up sitting on this bench. Now, one thing I will say, and this will be a theme throughout the entirety of this video, is that Los Santos, especially the city center, don't live there. It's fucking dangerous. You can't spend 5 minutes living in the city without something happening. And I mean just some other random NPCs doing something. It's funny because the NPCs that I followed, a lot of them didn't seem to do much, but it just seemed to be other NPCs that I weren't following that were in the area that seemed to be having a whale of a time. He sat in probably one of the most dangerous locations in Los Santos. Now, I know it doesn't look like it, but trust me, it's about to become a bit weird. Firstly, a car, while turning, hits a fire hydrant near him. He gets startled by this, but he eventually sits down. Everything calms down a little bit. Another car comes in and nearly hits the tree. He ends up getting startled by this, then he eventually sits down and he thinks to himself, wow, that was a close shave. Because he's bald. Lampposts get knocked over. He gets startled again. The poor guy's been startled 3 times in the last 3 minutes. More cars come in. They seem to not be able to make this corner at all. It's not even a corner. It's just a turn. And then eventually a taxi comes up to him like it's trying to murder him out of nowhere. And he gets real startled by this. He then goes into his freak-out stage and starts running and screaming all the way down the street. He runs away, calms down, and then, yes, of course, he finds another bench to sit on. I should have called him Benchman 47. Why didn't I call him Benchman 40? He's now called Benchman 47. Fucking loves benches. So accidentally, I decide to stand naturally next to him by standing on the bench next to him. And he kind of gets annoyed by this, and then he kind of moves away. Now, there is kind of a middle stage between the normal kind of stage of an NPC in terms of their frightenedness and things like that before they get into the freak out mode. And that's kind of where the middle ground is. It's the kind of alerted phase. I'm slightly alerted, but I'm not totally freaked out. When this happens, it usually seems to happen, A, as I said before, when something happens to our actual player character, or B, if you kind of antagonize or do something or get close to the NPC themselves. They become more aware of you in their surroundings. The way you kind of notice this is that his walking animation is a lot more quicker. It's not totally quick, but it's a lot quicker than his kind of first animation that he did. And then every time you kind of go near him or just even behind him, his head will tilt depending on where you are behind him or to the side of him. But yes, when the NPC gets to this point, this stage, when they're kind of aware of you a lot more, it's kind of experiment over, because all they do is try to avoid you. I try to get in front of him, he changes and turns around. Try to be best friends with him by walking with him, he doesn't really care. He just stares at me like he's going to kill me. This one wasn't as aggressive, as we'll get to later down the line. In a way, he's the most polite of the NPCs I encountered when it comes to this kind of thing, when he's aware of you and doesn't want anything to do with you. He just sort of looks at you and doesn't really want to talk to you. We go out of the city for NPCs number 7 and 8 because there's 2 of them together, and I wanted to test what happens when you got NPCs just standing there rather than walking, and also them being part of a group. What do they do? Do they move? Do they just stand there and do nothing? Hopefully we'll find some things. Spoiler, they don't really do anything. Here we are with, I'm just trying to find myself, bro. Let's go for a hike. These are just enjoying the scenery, and they have a map with them, and they're looking at stuff, and they're taking photos, and they're just having a good old time. I just decided to wait and see if they did anything. One of them is on their phone. The other one is looking at a map. They didn't do much. I'm gonna be honest, they didn't do anything at all. They just kept looking at the map and looking at their phone. So I decided to have a conversation with them to see if I can get them to do something. And this is where conversations can lead to them getting into their not freak out stage just yet, but their alert stage, where if they kind of see you do something bad, or you talk to them in a weird way, or just be rude to them in general, they can also phone the police on their phone. Well, one of them did. The other one kind of very quickly ran away because he sort of knew that this was going to go bad, and he was right. He was right to know that. Look, this whole experiment was long enough. I did want to lose a wanted level on top of it, okay? One NPC is sleeping, and the other one just decides to hightail it into the distance. Like, he keeps going. Run! You get him, champ. NPC number 10 is the jogger who doesn't like to jog. This person is jogging, and I wanted to find someone who's doing a different animation to kind of walking. So I wanted just to follow someone and see if they did anything because they're jogging. Would they keep on jogging? Would they go to a more scenic route to jog? Would they, I don't know, join up with their jogging friends? No, this person decided to jog for 2 minutes, and then they decided, you know what? Jogging's overrated. I don't like it anymore. I'm gonna walk now. And that was it. And of course, during this moment, they also nearly died. NPC 13 is just the homeless. I don't know what really I was expecting here because they're homeless. Don't know if they were going to do anything or go anywhere really. Again, they're homeless. One of them decided to kind of walk to the corner of the street and then stop, which was different, but that was kind of it. But straight after this was NPC 14, and a guy I like to call, I'm really pissed off at you being around me, now please go away, sir. So I mentioned NPCs can get antagonized by you in various different ways. Sometimes you just walk by an NPC, not thinking about following them, and they just sort of say, let's have a fight, bro, which I guess is realistic to real world sometimes, you know? Yeah, I just walked past this guy. He decided he wanted to fight me in the middle of the morning. I think it was about 5 o'clock in the morning. And he decided he wanted to have a fight in the middle of the street. I don't know what I did. I didn't really say anything to him. I kind of went near him, but then I didn't really do anything. I just walked by him. I say all this, and I sort of ended the fight the best way I thought I could end the fight. Another unfortunate incident like this happened when we got to NPC 16, and I literally saw a guy outside of his house, and he said some very nice words to me. And then things got a little bit heated. I like to call this one Mr. Nice and all his friends want to give me a big hug. So for some people, if you're near their property and you just kind of stare into their property and they give you a bit of a warning, they may pull a gun on you. And then that triggers a bunch of gang members that they're a part of, I assume, to also come after you as well in that area. So much so that your map is just filled with red dots everywhere and you need to get out as soon as possible. That can happen at any point when you just look at someone's property. So for the first 20 people that I followed, they were just kind of random people on the street that I picked. Just completely random. I tried to keep them slightly different, like in the way they looked, or as I mentioned earlier about High Heel Lady, maybe she had a different walking pace to her because of it. We get into section 2 of this video now, which is NPCs in their vehicles.
My kids can't hear me calling you a bitch.
Your window's open.
They can't hear me because they're listening to Kids Bop.
This one's pretty straightforward. Find an NPC in a vehicle, follow that vehicle, see what happens. Try to keep it different from one another. NPC 21 is next. I like to call this one I f***ing hate rabbits so much. You'll see why in a minute. But this is a man in a recycling truck, and I just found him on the street and I decided to follow the recycling truck. And dear God, I really wish I didn't pick this because, oh my God, it was so slow. It was so slow, in fact, that he ended up holding up a bunch of us in traffic, not least myself. It was one of the slowest vehicles to ever follow ever. It was painstakingly bad, but I kept at it. I kept at it for a good 25 minutes following this one very slow moving truck. Yeah, now I'm only starting to question what am I doing in my life. What ends up happening a lot, though, as this is now still becoming a theme, and it will continue becoming a theme of this entire experiment, more things are happening around us than the actual NPC themselves, although a couple of things happened with this NPC. But we had police chases happening around us. I think we had about 2 or 3 police chases as I was following this guy for about 20 to 25 minutes. Then he starts holding up a whole bunch of traffic. Everyone starts beeping their horn. He gets kind of slightly alerted, but not to the point where he's going any faster. Then what I can only describe as some very confident rabbits decide to ruin this guy's day even further by rushing out in front of the road, him beeping, then slowing down, and then going again. To the point there was a group of these rabbits that decided to come together to slow this guy even more. He starts beeping the horn. Everyone starts beeping the horn. We're all having a bad day. Rabbits. Another police chase happens, and then this time the driver, the getaway driver that was trying to get away from the police, ends up crashing into our guy that's already having a really bad day. And then this ungodly amount of power comes from the truck itself. Like, where the hell has this been? Does this truck suddenly have like nitrous oxide that I wasn't aware of? So he freaks out. I decide to kind of intervene here, where I want him to just kind of slow down and get back to like a normal state and see if I can get him to slow down. So I get in front of him. I try to slow him down. I may have caused an accident. And then the next thing that happened is one of the most beautiful things I think I've ever seen in Grand Theft Auto 5. And I've been playing this game for years. He then gets out of his truck, runs into the mountains, screaming his head off. And when I say runs into the mountains, I mean this man ran into the mountains. So I decided to move on after that. Speaking of slow, we get to number 23, and this is I'm on a dirt bike, but I'm going slower than the recycling man ever did. This guy was so unbelievably slow. Like, seriously. I thought because this guy was on a dirt bike this time around, at least he'll be going at a decent pace compared to the recycling truck. No, I was wrong. I was wrong. He was going slower. For some reason, he was going... There was no one in front of him at times, and he was going absolutely slow. I don't know why. I really don't know why. To the point where he also held up traffic as well. And then once again... Of course it happens. A police chase happens nearby. He gets freaked out, goes into his freaked out mode, goes at incredibly high speeds that we didn't see at any point during his regular drive at all, not even close, and then just kind of sails off into distance. At this point, I was like, okay, there's no point chasing this guy. Number 28 is next, and this is just basically a taxi driver. I wanted to see if the taxi driver actually did his job. And specifically, I picked a taxi with someone already in the back. So even if he doesn't pick up anyone, he's already picked up someone. So he has to drop them off somewhere, right? No. The taxi driver literally drove around in a circle, like all the time. And I know maybe... he's trying to find the location. He's in the location that needs to do a drop-off. But I'm starting to suspect that everything that's around me in GTA is just a facade and nothing is real. And the Illuminati's after me. And I don't believe that. Everything I see is actually there. And it's kind of just like a set dressing. Taxi went round in circles, got bored, moved on. Number 30, I wanted to do a little bit of a different kind of NPC kind of observation. I wanted to hijack someone's car, but not actually use the car, just sort of leave it there and see if the NPC eventually, when it stops freaking out, that he just goes back to the car and then drives away in it. Didn't get that. So I stole his car, he legs it, then I immediately chase him down like he stole my car, and he runs and runs and runs, and we eventually circle back on ourselves, and he just runs by the car. And the car's right there with no one in it, and it's still there, and he just runs past it, legs it, screams. What I'm starting to realize now is when NPCs start running, they very rarely stop. Number 33 was when I was at the golf course. I was kind of looking for golfers, but it was becoming nighttime. It was kind of sunset time, and I couldn't find any. But I did find a guy that was mowing the lawn on his lawnmower. So I'd like to introduce you to Lawnmower Man. Great film. Firstly, I wanted to observe his mowing skills. He's kept this course in pristine condition. Look at it. It's lovely and beautiful, and it's just done the right way. So I wanted to see if he does very straight lines, or what was his technique when it came to cutting the... Oh, he's just going in random circles. Okay. Yep, no, that's... He's not even doing straight lines anymore. He's just kind of veering off to the left slightly. So after seeing his subpar mowing skills, I decided to just give him a little bit of a push. just to see what would happen. Would he drive off into the distance in his lawnmower, navigate out of the actual golf course itself? Because remember, to him, the golf course is probably looking like a prison right now. So what he does is he actually takes the lawnmower off the grass and puts it on the actual gravel path. And now he's very slowly getting away on this gravel path. I'm following him, of course. He does eventually do a whole lap of the whole course by going across this gravel path, and he gets to the car park. And at this point, I'm thinking, is he gonna hit the main area or the main street on the lawnmower and try to get away from me? Because that would be kind of hilarious and I would love that. Well, not... Yeah. He gets to the car park. He navigates the car park pretty well until he tries to get on the other gravel trap to go back round to do another lap of the golf course. Then he hits like a raised bit on the footpath, freaks out himself, starts running around the front door of where he works because he scared himself by hitting a curb, and he just keeps going around in circles. And I'm not even sure what's happening now, and I'm very confused for his kind of mental state. So he keeps doing this, so in the end I decided to give him a little bit of an assistance. Number 36 is Lifeguard Man. This was pretty straightforward. It was a lifeguard. I saw his quad bike. He wasn't doing much. He was just sort of looking at the sea, I guess trying to save people. Maybe. I'm not convinced. So I stole his quad bike. He just ended up trying to chase me. I wanted to see if he could try get it back. I was just taking the piss at this point, I think, with this one. Number 37 was BMX Bandit. He didn't do much. He was on his BMX and he didn't say or do much, and I just sort of... I didn't really have anything for this one. Moving on to the next section, which is animals. So I wasn't really having the best of luck with NPCs when it came to people NPCs. So I thought maybe the animal kingdom will help me out. Maybe they'll do something interesting. They're animals after all. Maybe if we just kind of David Attenborough this shit, we might be able to find out some things. Although I think David Attenborough and his team end up like spending months observing some animals, and I'm looking at some in a video game, so it's a little bit different. Especially when I was doing things with number 45, which is I'm a scared deer, help, help, help. I decided to chase some deer on a motorbike, and I don't think they appreciated it. They just sort of run away. Gosh, what a surprise, I know. I mean, I don't really know what I was expecting with like one of them to grab a pack of cigarettes and start smoking it or something. No, they ran. They ran away from me because they didn't want to be near me, and that's just how it is. And number 48 is Mechanical Bird Chases Majestic Bird. This is a beautiful scene right out of a Disney film. So as I was walking around, I kind of said to myself, hey, those birds up there, what are they doing? Where are they going? How are they hanging? So I decided to grab a bird, or in this case, a very large chopper, and neatly place it on the road, and decided to chase a bird to see what it does. Does it go in a certain direction? Does it go in a loop? I expected it to just kind of loop around in a certain area and just kind of continuously kind of like fly around and blah, blah, blah. But what I found was something quite majestic. This was the first NPC that truly felt like it just did its own thing. It just flew away. It was even flying towards the end of the map or the outside of the map. It was just enjoying itself. It was having a lovely day. It didn't care what was going on in the world. It wasn't getting freaked out by a giant, really loud chopper, military grade being right next to it. It was just enjoying its time and having the time of its life. And I was at peace with the bird. I was one with the bird. It was a beautiful moment. And then, all of a sudden, as I was following it, it just f***ing disappeared. It just left. It just decided, you know what? Forget about you. See you later. I was so distraught at this point that I let go of the controller and just crashed and died. Number 50 is Good Boy. This is a dog with an owner, and I want to see how dogs react to their owners. Do they kind of follow them along, or do they go their own way? Especially when they get into different kind of alert phases, or even in this case, the owner getting into a full-on alert phase. But yes, after a little bit of a nudge, trying to get them moving, the dog does follow the actual NPC around. It's an actual beautiful... Oh my god. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. He's okay. So yeah, even when the actual owner decided to go from a fast walking pace to an extremely fast jog, the dog still seems to follow the owner around, which is actually quite a nice thing to see, until you realize that the owner is running into traffic and the dog is also following it as well, and someone needs to stop one of them at least. But the story doesn't end very well. The owner then ends up running away, going around a corner, and as soon as we get around the corner, the owner seems to be not there anymore, and it's disappeared. And this is reflected on the dog itself. It sort of changes from following its owner to kind of aimlessly searching for a new one, and it's actually quite sad to see this happen. It doesn't know where it is. It doesn't know what to do. It's confused. But maybe at the same time now it feels like it's free. It can do whatever he wants. He can find a new owner, find a new purpose in life. Number 55, I found a jogger jogging on spot with a dog next to her. That's all she did. The dog looked pretty fucking bored. I was bored. So I decided to go back to actual NPC people this time around, but follow people who had things to do, things we've already seen throughout this video. You know, they've just been wandering in the distance, kind of disturbing the peace, more or less. That's right, I'm filming cops.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
The justice system, here to protect and serve, make sure that everyone is safe, and overall show professionalism and a duty of care to others. Sort of. Number 61 was a standard police patrol vehicle that I decided to follow around to see what it does throughout the day. As standard with a lot of these police patrol vehicles, there usually is 2 officers in the car at any point. And even just like driving around normally, they displayed some incredible driving techniques that really would put anyone at ease. Like, for some reason, deciding to drive on the pathway and hit a pedestrian that was doing absolutely nothing and then drive away. We did eventually have a chase on our hands, and there was a shootout that happened between a couple of officers, including the one I was following. There is an immediate second chase, and then the preceding scene that happens just kind of summarized everything I kind of love about GTA 5. So there's a car, they take it down, they pull out their guns, they try to shoot the driver. One of the officers gets shot. So there's one dead officer lying there, and there's a couple of other bodies there. So there's a bit of a scene in this middle of the road that's going on. Now, when this happens, it does 2 things. Number 1, it blocks traffic. And when you block traffic in GTA 5, the pedestrians go from just standard, we should be calm and da-da-da-da, to then secondly, the paramedics show up, and this is a standard thing when an NPC goes down, or if there is a death or something. Usually you would hear obviously cop cars firstly arriving to the scene, and then you would have paramedics coming along to check on the bodies. Usually they used to come up to them and kind of revive them, or revive them on the spots, except for the fact that these paramedics, number 1, also can't drive, and then when they actually try to get out of the car and then try to do some paramedicing, they ended up starting to fight with someone else because they ran onto the road and the car hit them, and then they tried to beat up the person in the... They're completely ignoring the dead bodies now at this point. They now have their own agenda. They've decided that they're just going to do this. Who cares about their job? Let's beat up someone else. One of them gets hit by a recycling truck that we saw earlier, then pulls out the driver, starts trying to fight him. Meanwhile, there are still dead bodies lying around, unattended to. At this rate, they could save lives right now, but instead they decided to have a street fight about it. One of the cops that's waiting for the paramedics to pick up his partner's body sees this, then decides to pull out his gun, starts shooting at the person that's hitting the paramedic, or the paramedic themselves. I wasn't really too sure at this point what was going on. It all gets kind of quieted down. The cop then returns to his partner's body, and he's just sort of waiting there going, where's the paramedics? But at this rate, we've already had paramedics arrive at the scene, and I think they're dead. There's still a traffic jam going on, so pedestrians are honking their horn. Everything is just very, very chaotic right now. No one knows what really to do. It is not a very civil place to be right here. And then eventually the cop doesn't want to wait around. He gets in the car and drives off and leaves his dead partner's body in the middle of the street. GTA 5, everyone. And then he immediately gets into another police chase, this time an even weirder technique where he's trying to take down this silver car, but he's not doing it in a way that you would think would be an appropriate way to take down a car. He's repeatedly ramming into the back of it, just now and again. Not like constant, just now and again thinking about it and then speeding up and then deciding to destroy the back of this car. And hopefully that will stop the suspect from moving. This eventually leads to a shootout. We didn't want to interfere with our research, so we had to literally watch him bleed out, which was kind of bad, but that's part of the research, I guess. So after the cop died, I decided to just follow the person that shot him, which led to number 62, Man with a Gun. This was just him in alert stage or freak out stage, just on a high speed pursuit. He was just in that alert stage where he's just trying to get away from danger, trying to get away from cops. He's just killed a police officer. He's probably going to jail for life. What's his family going to think? All these things were running through his head, obviously. Just like with the recycling truck, I tried to slow him down slightly again. He got out of his car and I was expecting him to start shooting me, considering he did have a weapon. But instead he got out of his car and you know how the story goes. Number 67 is Standing Police Officer. Standing Police Officer stands and he's looking at things. He sort of behaves like the lifeguard a little bit. He's kind of checking on cars from a distance. I was hoping to see something where maybe he would get on his bike and maybe chase someone down, but he just decided to stop and stare and didn't do anything. Number 74 was 2 for the price of 1 on Cops today. This was 2 police cars chasing the same vehicle. I want to see how they would work together when they are chasing the same vehicle. Will they just do the same thing, just mindlessly ramming into one another, ramming into the back that we've seen before? But in actual fact, they did actually try to take down a vehicle in a very particular way that has been done in real life. They actually tried to box in the suspect they were chasing, one at the front, one at the back. Maybe the execution was a bit questionable, as in, like, I mean, it looks like you're doing a good job, but not really. But they did eventually get the job done, and the vehicle went to a standstill, and it led us to, you guessed it, another shootout. It's actually the first time in a long time while doing this that I was actually impressed with the AI. But then that kind of stopped, and then it turned back into video game. Standard, your police officer gets shot, they get out of the car, waiting for paramedics. A civilian car comes too close, hits the police car, the police end up shooting the civilian, then they're waiting for paramedics for that civilian. For some reason the paramedics never arrive, so there's a bunch of dead bodies just waiting there now. Then the police officer has to abandon the car for some reason. He just sort of leaves the car, I think because it was damaged, just leaves it there. And then because they're without a car, they kind of wander aimlessly, and then eventually they'll stand on a corner and just kind of wait for something to happen. Police. So I did want to follow the other kind of emergency services around. The paramedics don't really seem to do much. It's not like there are dead bodies that sort of happen a lot of the time, and the way the kind of game works, which I'll get into later in the video, if something's happening miles and miles away, it's not going to really register on screen with anything I'm seeing. So I've decided to at least follow the fire trucks around to see if they actually put out fires maybe, and see if that kind of happens or not. At number 69, nice, but not really. The only notable thing that they did was just go into a car park and go around it and then leave immediately. And this is a bit of a side note, but this is something I spotted many times that was happening in the game. For example, number 76, there was a bunch of cars that suddenly decided to form an orderly queue to go into a car park, go around it, and then they just leave. They don't actually park the car. They just go in for a little tour of the car park and then leave. I was trying to find any cars that would either park the car and get out and walk around, or go to the car in a car park and then drive away. And the only thing I could find was just a bunch of cars that would go in but just kind of do a circle around the car park and then immediately leave and out. I don't know if they know how a car park works. And finally, in this section, number 79, this was a police chase, but with the vehicle that they were chasing a much larger and heavy vehicle than I've seen them chase before. So it'd be interesting to see how they would take them down. Maybe they use some different tactics. Maybe they call in some backup. Who knows? Maybe a helicopter. No, the suspect vehicle just kind of slid and crashed, and then they got out, and then there was a shootout, and then you know how it goes. Shootout happens. Pedestrians in the way. They're getting annoyed now, and I'm scared for my life, and etc., etc. Although I say all this, it's probably the funniest scene of the entire cop chases that I've done so far. With paramedics driving by an actual dead police officer's body, looking at me, thinking I should be doing something, and just in general, people absolutely just losing it. And finally, we get to the final section. Now, at this point, it's kind of obvious where everything is kind of heading with GTA NPCs, and I'll kind of summarize it at the end of the video, and what I learned from learning about them and observing them and seeing how they act just on a day-to-day basis. What I wanted to do with the last group of people was kind of do a couple of more outside the box experiments. For example, number 81, I can't stop lifting, man. There is an open gym on the beach where you can usually see people that are lifting weights. What I noticed is that at nighttime, that no one is using that gym. There's certain things that are different between day and night cycles that do affect where NPCs kind of are, or the population in that area. And one of the things I noticed is that particular gym area is completely abandoned at night. There's no one there, but in the daytime, it's usually full of people actually using the actual gym equipment that's there. So I wanted to know what would happen if I found someone who was using that gym equipment in the daytime and I stayed with them until nighttime. Would they walk away and move, or would they just get self-conscious and stay there because I was watching them the entire time and they thought maybe I should put some effort in and show how good I am to this guy? I'm not really too sure. Like, it would just make sense that they would stop and then walk away and just act like a normal NPC after that. No, this guy stayed there from early morning all the way until about 9 o'clock at night, and he was still there when it was really, really dark. So what I decided to do was just quickly move away from the area, literally go to the car park that was nearby, and then go back to where he was, and immediately he disappears. It's starting to make sense how these NPCs kind of work in terms of the whole set dressing, you know? Everything is kind of working in this game around you in a way. It's not really kind of a fully living, breathing world. Even though GTA 5 still to this day does an amazing job at making a living, breathing world, the kind of facade of it kind of comes out now when you do these kind of experiments or observations, or just general, what the f are you doing watching NPCs in a video game? Get a life, you loser. I also did a weather test at number 83, a storm's coming, where I decided to wait around for an actual storm to happen and see if anyone goes on the beach, because you would think it's probably not the best idea to kind of be walking on the beach while a really, really bad weather happens. There was a slight difference, like there's less people on the beach and there's no one sunbathing, things like that, but there are still people mad enough just to kind of go for a lovely stroll. Oh, it's a beautiful day outside, I might as well put my shoes on and get absolutely drenched. Number 89 is, I saw a UFO. No, not that UFO, then another UFO. Let me just explain this, because it was the one thing that really drove me nuts throughout this entire observation of all these NPCs. But I saw something, and I've got the video footage to back it up. I was driving along on the highway, and there was a gas station there, and I decided, hey, I might as well pull off to a gas station and see if I can see if anyone actually uses the gas station. I didn't think anyone did, but I decided to pull up anyway and see if I could find anything. As I'm pulling up to this gas station, I see a car leaving the gas station. So I immediately think, oh, cars do use the gas. I'll just wait around here and wait for a car to pull up and use the gas. So I waited and I waited and I waited, and nothing happened. I tried to leave the area and come back and see if I could see another car, you know, pulling up or whatever. I waited for something to happen. I went to a different gas station to try and find this out. I spent so long trying to find things out because I saw, and I'm not joking and I'm not hallucinating, I have the video footage right here, there is a car leaving a gas station, which implies to me that they do use it. Or maybe there's just an animation when you pull up to a gas station of a car leaving. But I can never get that animation to happen again. It only happened once, ever. And it drove me nuts. Number 91 is I'm drunk and I'm flying a plane. This was me during my flying the planes era of this observation job that I was doing. I decided to get a jet and follow a jet in the sky. It looked like it was having some major malfunctions or that the driver had a few too Budweisers. I remember playing this game way back 12, 13 years ago and seeing like how the planes were flying by themselves in the sky, and I used to think it was very majestic. Now I look at it 12 or 13 years later at a closer distance, and now I feel like someone should put that jet out of its misery. It seems stressed or something. Finally, for NPC 100, it's more or less an experiment against the NPCs at this point, I think. But nevertheless, number 100. I decided to get a big bus and block the road with it because I'm an asshole. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with this. I think I was just so tired by the end of this, all these observations. I decided just to get a big bus and block the road and see how many people would turn up and get pissed and see what happens and just let the chaos ensue. And that's exactly what happened. And that was my 100 examples of following NPCs that turned into kind of experimentations with NPCs video. It's funny because when the game came out 12, 13 years ago, and I still feel this way, even though I did all this stuff and I comment on how the AI reacts to a lot of things and most of the time they just kind of panic and everyone just seems to panic all the time. The way I'm doing this, or the way I'm kind of doing all these NPCs observation, I'm playing the game not the way it's meant to be played. These are not NPCs that you should follow. They're not meant to be followed. It's clear to see that NPCs in GTA 5 are there to exist on the screen for a mere second or two, or even at most a couple of minutes. You know, they're not meant to be there. They are set dressing. They are there just to be there. So me following around is not really going to accomplish a lot. I'm not really going to find out a lot. It's weird because when I first saw this game years and years ago, I thought how crazy the technology was to make a world like this, and it still is. It's still impressive to this day, don't get me wrong, but when you look under the surface of it, you can kind of work out how this game kind of comes together and how the world kind of comes together to be its own like living, breathing world. The other thing I learned is that the life expectancy rate in Los Santos is probably about 10 to 15 minutes tops without something bad happening to you. Don't live there. It's a horrible place. I spent way too many hours in there, and now I want to go home. But I am home.